here I am with our beloved mango trees in production. People often ask me, Gary, when will those little mango trees fruit that you're selling me? And well, what do I tell them? Pronto, or now, or immediately. That's what I tell them. Because look. Do you not believe me? Do you not believe? Why would you not believe me? I don't lie. They fruit right away. Pretty much right away. Look, there's a big one there coming along. It's July, and these things are starting to form. You'll always have some dropping because a tree really shouldn't support nearly as many as are born on the plant when that happens. But I am buying this one here, bringing it up. But yes, so the trees that we utilize, well, let's see. There's this one. This is the best, most hardiest, toughest mango you can grow in the Bay Area. Partly because of how we're growing them here, out in full sun, exposed to the wind, under the California sun, under tough conditions, to get them used to, not being coddled. And so now because of that, we get a really tough tree, and it's ready to go. Now there's some other imports that we will sometimes bring in with these real special varieties, but the only way we can get those is get them from Florida. They're going to be soft tissued when we get them, and they're grown in Florida, and they're smaller, and and they just need more babying to get them to where they have to go. But if you want a surefire mango, this is the one here. If you want to fool around and gamble a little bit, then like me, I'm going to plant all of them in my house. I'm going to try to get every one of them going. But if you only have room for one mango, and you're like, hey, I want to get the highest chance tree I can get, well, this is it right here. And it's partially because of the variety. It's basically a Philippine style mango, and it's grown exceptionally well and hardy here with the sun and the wind. So what kind of mango exactly is it? Well, here's the issue. Wow, this is a nice tree here. I should get this one. Look at that fat trunk. What kind of mango? It is exactly a I don't know. I don't know what kind of mango it is. And I'll tell you why. Because I speak Spanglish. I don't speak Spanish. I love Spanish. I just wish I paid more attention in high school when, what was that guy's name? Mr. King used to say, Grog! Where is your homework, Mr. Grog? Some of my friends from high school remember that. Yeah, they were there. I'd say, well, I think the dog ate it. El perro come mi trabajo de la casa. And he'd say, F. No, I didn't get an F. I got a B. I got a B minus, I think. Anyway, Dr. King was super cool, but I really should have taken it more seriously when he told me I really needed to study, because what he should have told me is like, Grog, you're going to be using Spanish your entire life. You better learn it now, or it's going to cost you. And now it's costing me. God bless Mr. King. I'm not sure if he's alive anymore, but he was a cool dude. Anyway, he had a cane. He'd always threatened to hit you with the cane. He never did, but it was always there. He was short and kind of wide. He had a long ponytail in a like a bun, and he would walk around and look at your homework and hold that cane. I don't know if he ever hit anybody with it. I was talking about my old good buddy, Mr. King, and let's see. Anyway, so how does that translate into what we're talking about here? Well, here's the deal. Everybody at this nursery, they all only speak Spanish. They literally do not speak anything else. And I'm the victim of that because I didn't pay attention as well as I should have in Dr. King's class. So anyway, I'm suffering the consequences. But one thing I always asked him, I asked him, I said, okay, well, these are great mangoes. And I know that they look like a Philippine type, but what's the lineage? What do you call them? What's the name? What mango is this? And so this is what they tell me. And this is why I don't know what kind of mango this is. They tell me and I'm going to speak verbatim here. It's Mexican. That's what they say. And I'm like, well, there's no native mangoes to Mexico. They're all native to, the Asian subcontinent, India, and I guess in southern China. But they're definitely not native to Mexico. They're certainly there now, but not. But anyway, so what these guys are doing, there's just sprouting mangoes that they grow on this property, and this is the result. And it's this really hardy, tough mango that is really reliable. It has a beautiful look at the beautiful leaf, even in full sun, its hand on it. But yeah, so I guess I'm going to be true to the name and just list it as the Mexican mango, even though everyone's going to look at that knows mangoes and be like, that's not what that is. But what's a guy supposed to do? Anyway, so let's see. I want to talk also about a couple things you need to know about these trees and what's important about them from a survival standpoint. Now, what's really the most important, you see I tagged this one. Now, it's not the biggest tree here, but guess what? It's got the biggest, fattest wood. It's a solitary trunk, and when trees are solitary, they're going to get bigger wood faster, and big wood is super important when you're talking about getting to that euphoric point of ecstasy, having your own mangoes to eat in your yard. And the reason that big wood is important over little wood, because size matters with this kind of thing, is that when there's a freeze, I'll explain what happens. What happens is if you were to have brand new growth, and this doesn't happen in California because this growth will be hardened off before we ever get a freeze. But in Florida, it happens. They'll get really warm and tropical in the middle of winter in Florida, and you'll get all this new growth on mangoes. And then boom, they'll have an Arctic front come down and just burn everything. And so that doesn't happen here because, like I said, maybe it's happened at some point in our history. You had a really early frost or a super warm spell in fall followed by a super early frost. I guess it's possible, but hardly ever happens. But anyway, by the time our frosts come, this really soft foliage here, which would just melt the moment there's any frost, this would be gone, melted away. History. It would look like it was burned by a torch. This leathery, hardened foliage is tougher to frost, sun, everything else. And so it's going to survive a frost of 32, 31, 30 degrees. It might have a few spots on it, no big deal. The ones on top will protect the ones underneath. The leaves that are obliquely pointing toward the sky, like that, will have cold air land directly on them, and they will be destroyed much more so than the leaves that are hanging in a vertical fashion. That's true with all plant material. It's almost like there's molecules dropping from the sky, just landing on this cold air surface as a trap on a leaf. When it's like that, it's like a catch. It's almost like I don't know what you call it, just like a baseball glove catching a ball out of the sky. It's catching the frost, letting it sit there, it burns out, where the frost literally slides off vertical surfaces. I've seen it happen. And because I'm obsessed about these things. Anyway, so you get 20, 28 degrees, 29, 28, you're going to start losing some of these pencil thick pieces like this. They're going to freeze back to thicker wood right there. You probably have sprouts in the spring coming out of here. Everything else will be dead. Leave the dead part on the tree because it will act as a protection for what's laying beneath it if there's another freeze later in the season. Don't do any pruning whatsoever until July. Just see what's sprouting and where it's not, because they'll surprise you. A plant that's recovering in spring will start sprouting here, and the juices will be coming up, and then it'll start sprouting here. So it starts to sprout from the bottom up. If you see sprouts on the bottom, don't assume you're not going to get sprouts on top. That's really important. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with these trees. But so as you can see by my long dissertation, that the fat wood is extremely important, because the fatter the wood, the more of an extreme freeze the plant can sustain and come back from. So say there's a freeze of 25, 24 degrees for like a night. If it was all week, the whole tree would be dead. But just one night, 24 degrees, probably kill this tree back, probably kill these little stems, kill it back to here. Because the more material there is, the more energy it takes for the cold air to get into that and kill it. It's very easy to kill something not so substantial like up here. But it's a whole nother thing to get enough cold air, enough energy, being cold air, to kill the inside of this plant. So what'll probably happen to some degree is you'll lose the whole top and you'll get sprouts just like this coming out in spring on the bottom. And you'll still have a perfectly good tree. And so the fatter the wood, the more wood you have, the bigger the wood is, the more likely you're going to get to that happy point of getting fruit, because your tree will not die if there is a freeze. And so I tend to get as big a wood as possible for my customers because I know they like big wood. And so that's it with the wood. And what else do you need to know? The polyembryonic structure of these plants is such that even though what it is there's polyembryonic trees and there's monoembryonic trees. Polyembryonic means there's multiple sprouts in the tree. And only one of those is going to be a unique individual because it got pollinated. The other two sprout from material which is from the parent itself, or the mother parent, and it's going to be a clone. So that's why these trees here are so uniform looking, even though they're sprouted from seed. People think also that plants sprouted from seed are going to take an inordinate amount of time to flower and fruit. Avocados, they say 10 years sometimes. But as you can see, these guys they're doing it right away. So the question is, when's that thing going to fruit, Gary? It's going to fruit right away. Even if you get a 15-gallon container, it's going to fruit right away because of, the polyembryonic cloned nature of these plants. And they're going to be really very similar to each other without much variation. So that's what we have. I guess I'll list it as the Mexican avocado. And, come on down to Golden Gate Palms. I'm going to bring some up right now. We are loading a semi-truck as I speak right there. That one's heading to you.